Welcome, everybody, to the Jim Feist Pro Football Handicapping Show here at Dom DeMarco's Pizzeria and Wine Bar, where the wine flows and the good times roll, as the proprietor, Albert Scalliott, says. I'll do a little bit of introduction. My name is Tommy Canale. I'll be the moderator for this show as we go. But the main man is a leader in sports information and sports gaming industry with over 40 years of experience. Bettors have trusted him as a source of handicapping information worldwide, award-winning handicapper, and the undisputed champion in sports handicapping. Jim Feist, welcome to your show.
Well, that's a little overstated, but I appreciate it. And you made me feel a little younger when you said 40 years. It's actually been 60.
I didn't want to go 60,
yeah,
but we could go 60.
Because that makes me eligible for Social Security, see? But you have to say 60.
We're going to change it to 60. You have a couple guests with you here today. One of them is decades of sports betting and picking winners, a Las Vegas handicapper who has won the Pick'em contest at the Westgate. He was a top 5 finisher in the Hilton contest. And I call him like FedEx. He delivers excellence one pick at a time. Mike Scalliott.
How you doing today, Tommy?
I am well. And also 25 plus years, he's been involved with some of the smartest and sharpest bettors in the world. He's been on ESPN, CNN, Fox Sports, and appeared on countless radio shows and podcasts coast to coast. You can go to Crack Wins. Everybody knows the Crack Man. We'll call him Bill Krackomberger. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
We're going to start here, and then we'll take some questions. I'll kick off an opening question. Jim, I'll take it to you, and then you can throw it to either Mike or Bill. The most surprising team that so far through the NFL, who do you think will fade the most going forward?
Washington.
Why?
Because they have no defense. And I thought yesterday, I like the team, don't get me wrong. I like the quarterback, I like the coaches, but eventually that defense is going to catch up to them. Now, they did come back and cover for some people, because there are a lot of 6 and 6.5s, but they came back and lost by 7 yesterday, but they were up against a top-flight team. They're going to have trouble holding down teams if you can't play defense, because eventually it's going to catch up to you. They can score. They got everything on offense they need, but that's going to fall apart a little bit. Especially now that they're getting too popular, people are going to start, which is yesterday. A lot of people lost money on them because they really didn't cover the spread. They pushed in some spots, so that's going to they're going to run into a problem with that.
Mike, what's your take on that? Is it Washington for you?
Well, I like them with the new quarterback. Defensive coach is pretty good. But, yeah, yesterday they ran into a tough team. But it's going to be learning with growing pains, you know. I was one of those guys that had the 6.5, and that's going to happen, you know. But Baltimore's a very good team with Jackson and all. But what was the original question? A team this year that
what team right now has started out hot that you think will fade towards the second half of the season?
who started out hot?
Vikings are hot. You think they'll stay, or are they going to fade?
I don't think they're going to win that division. I think Detroit or Green Bay can catch them, but it's going to be a battle. Other than that, who started out? The Chiefs are hot. The Niners, Seattle, not really. Houston's on the come from last year, so they're going to continue to grow. Detroit lost a very good player yesterday, so do they go get someone to replace him? Or I think they're good. I think they're pretty good without him, but with him, they're very, very good. So I would think they should try to find a guy to replace him, and that's really about it that I think on the upcoming. Washington, like I said, it's a rookie quarterback. We'll see. It's going to be growing pains for the season. They're in a tough division with the Eagles. I don't think the Cowboys have much. See what Bill has to say.
Bill, what do you think on this topic?
Washington is this year's Houston. It seems like they're the team that came out of nowhere. When they were on TV, on the public game, on the primetime game, people really seen who this kid was and seen what this team was doing. I follow the updated weekly. There's a couple sites that update weekly the division odds and the odds on the season wins. I'm really shocked to see what I see today, though. Washington is now favorite to win. Just think about this. The Eagles were favorite to win the division last week by a ton. This week, Washington loses, the Eagles win, but yet Washington is now the favorite to win that division. You get a plus $1.20 on Washington to win the division. The Eagles, you can get a plus $1.40. Dallas, you can get almost 5-1. And of course, the Giants, you can get $6 million to 1. So, but yeah, Washington now the favorite to in that division, and I'm actually pretty surprised by it. I think the Eagles definitely overlooked the Browns yesterday, of course. But you wouldn't know that by Sirianni's speech in the end. But like I said, this guy Sirianni, to play in South Philly, it's hard to ever fire anyone with a vowel at the end of their name in South Philly. So, it's a really tough, probably the toughest stadium in the United States to play in. This is still the place they throw snowballs at Santa, remember? So, so just to see this Washington team getting this much respect, boy, I'll tell you. And they're an 8-point favorite next week against Carolina. It's actually anywhere from 7.5 to 8.5. Of course, at Station Sportsbook, 8.5. That's a lot of points. Of course, if I go in there, they call the law because they throw anyone out with a pulse. So if anyone wants to tell them Bill Krackerberger said that, I don't care. Stations throws everyone out. That wins.
Bill, let me ask you a question on that. And when I say Washington, when the public gets all over a team and they say they like a team too much and they start overpricing them, that's when the bets go down. So instead of taking, like, for example, 7.5 or 8 yesterday against Baltimore, they're so popular there were only 6, 6.5, and the tie with 7. So what happens, in my opinion, is why will they fade? It's not that their play will change; it's that the price is too much on. They're too favored. Now you're favoring them over Dallas and you're favoring them over Philly. And the way Dallas and Philly are playing, I can't blame you for thinking that, or not you specifically. But are they really? I mean, Sirianni blew it last year at the end of the year. He's blowing it now. Is he a good coach? Yeah, I'm an Italian kid. I don't want to get the Italian guy fired, but I don't think he belongs anymore.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. And I'm not pro-Washington, by the way. I bet a big bet at the beginning of the season on Philly to win that division, and I'm still I'm thinking of double dipping now. Now that they're plus 140 I see here, which I probably could shop around and get a better price. I'm thinking of, even though they're not playing up to their potential, Philadelphia, I just think, what about if this kid goes down? What about if Daniels goes down? What happens then?
Well, then they're done.
They're done. I mean, and the way he dives in head first, I love him. He's the Pete Rose of football. I mean, he dives in head first. He don't care. He puts his whole body out there, and I actually like the kid a lot.
So
but I would think that would be the quick team to fade this year. I'm not so fast to fade this Minnesota team. I'm pro Minnesota early in the year. I bet Minnesota to make the playoffs. Season wins over. But yeah, so I would have to say that I will stick with you. I'm with you, Jim. I think Washington will be the team. 8.5 points? Are you kidding me? Washington's giving. I know Carolina's terrible. That's a lot of points, though.
Well, Carolina has the new owner, and I thought he was going to be really good when he came into the league, but he's a little too much like Jerry Jones. He's too involved, and we saw what Jerry Jones has done down there.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't do anything in the offseason. They're a mess. They're soft. I mean, they won the game up at Pittsburgh. The narrative on that was they played a late game, an hour and a half rain delay. They beat Pittsburgh, last play of the game, and they screwed Detroit the year before. And Detroit had it circled. They wanted to come in there and kick their ass because the refs screwed them out of the victory a year ago. And you saw what they did at the end of the game. They wanted to run up and embarrass Jerry Jones on his birthday, and they did that, 47-9. Thank you very much. So, I mean, you pay the price for what happens, and you get these owners that think that they know. Yeah, they made a lot of money in what they do and what they know, but they don't know this. And you let the football people. They made no decisions in the off season to add a running game to their play. I mean, and it's ridiculous.
Let me ask you guys this, because we talked about it before we started. The injury to Hutchinson and the Lions. What's it worth in the line? 1, 1.5, 2?
At least, I would say at least 1.5 points. That's a good number. He was one of the best defensive players, never mind their best defensive player. So they have to step up, though. Teams have a way of stepping up sometimes. I'll hand the microphone to the guy next to me because he definitely wins betting NFL. And let me tell you something. NFL sides, I don't know a lot of people. I've worked with the sharpest sports betting syndicates in the world for 30 years. The sharpest. If any of you guys know Billy Walters, you're welcome to mention my name to him. And by the way, I think Billy's a great guy. He's always been great to me. great to my family, great to other people, donating money, giving money to people, forgiving debts. Forget it. So I know they say a lot of bad things about him. You're not going to find me saying nothing bad about him. But anyway, it's very hard to beat the NFL. I don't know a lot of people that could beat NFL sides. Like I said, work with the sharpest people. So this guy has done it in the last couple of years, and I'm going to give the microphone to him.
Thanks, Bill. I'll comment on the Daniels thing, Jim. He's getting like Richardson did with the Colts. He wants to run, and then what happened to Richardson? Last year he got hurt. This year he got hurt. Those hits in the NFL aren't the same as in college. Correct. And if he don't learn that, he's going to be on the sideline. But on the comment with Billy with the Vikings, the line was 1, then now I seen it went up to 2. So Hutchinson is 1. Maybe it'll go 1.5 like Billy says. But I think they'll still play real good without him. But like I said earlier, they need to replace him, But these young quarterbacks that want to run, your life in the NFL don't last long. It's like Michael Vick said, if I knew how to slide, I would have lasted a long time.
I agree. I totally agree. Richardson seems to look for contact. He's a different type of runner. He's also built much differently than Daniels. And Daniels slimmer. He voids contact. You don't see him looking for somebody to hit, where Richardson try to knock you over. It's a different kind of guy. I hope he stays healthy. But the whole league it's a violent league.
I mean, one of the things, though, with Daniels, because of his size, it ain't going to take much to hurt him.
True.
One hit could put him out for the year, where some of these other guys could bounce back. Any questions from anybody sitting out there? Want to ask anybody up here on the panel? Just raise your hand, and we'll get your question. Anybody questions right now? What do you think of tonight's game, Jim? Go from there.
I took the Jets, and I have the under.
Mike?
I took the Jets +3. I think with the coach being gone, I think there'll be a lot of fire in the locker room tonight. And it's up now. Rodgers got to show. He's got to show how good he is. I know he's getting old, and I think he's coming to the end. But I think tonight you'll see a performance that you're used to seeing from years back. And Buffalo's got too many injuries. And I just don't think they're the right side tonight. I think the Jets at home with 3 is definitely the right play.
I definitely don't bet games because they're on TV. I have no allegiance to any team, any player. My allegiance is to my bankroll. When I bet a team, that's the end of the team. I don't care. If the team bus crashes after the game, it means nothing to me. I don't mean to sound so blunt, but it's the old Bronx Tale thing. They don't care about you. Why do you care about them? So this game tonight, I'd rather just bet props on player props. And as a matter of fact, I can't tell you the amount of times I've bet a prop. Even sitting here, I just bet another 2,000 on, because Circa opens up props for 2K afternoon. So we just bet another under on Cook. I bet it multiple times. So if you want to make a bet, and by the way, it's still available at some sports books. James Cook, Buffalo running back, under 58 yards. That is the way I would attack this game. I've bet it maybe 3-4 times already, rather than bet an NFL side, 4 sides, which are very, very hard to beat. Not to say I won't bet a game because it's on TV. I had the Giants yesterday. I wasn't planning to bet the Giants, but the sports books put it in my hand to bet the Giants. I actually took +4.5, -0.5 at BetMGM last night. They were begging for money on the Giants. So I know the market was 3.5. Then it went to 4 and a hook, half juice. They got me. They sucked me in. But so they'll tell you who to bet sometimes. By the way, I want to be on the side of the sports books. I host a nationwide show on the weekends on Fox Sports Radio, and we interviewed the director of BetMGM. I had a funny feeling they were going to go to 4. It was 3.5 everywhere. But he said that they had more money come in on Cincinnati than any primetime game this year. I don't understand that move, but it did come in. It got the money, and they actually had so much money on it, they had to move it to the only 4.5 in the market was BetMGM. So they probably got hurt. Listen, a lot of the sports books got hurt this week a little bit, but I'll tell you one thing. I won't be out there with no collection bucket, because I'll tell you right now, the sports books have made more money in the first 3 weeks of this season. I know a book in town that made more money in the first 3 weeks of this season than made all of last year. So the books won't get no crying bucket for me. I'm looking to destroy them. Hold on.
You got a comment, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, what Bill said about Cook, I believe he's a little bit injured, Bill, so that's 58 or whatever. Yeah, I don't think he'll get there. But what I was going to say is tonight's game, there's always 3 or 4 games a year where a team is on their 3rd road game in a row, and there's 4 of them this year. Yesterday was Cleveland, but like Bill said, the Eagles overlooked them because they should have covered that 8 or 9 point spread at home coming off a bye with the receivers back and all, but they didn't. Now tonight Buffalo's in that scenario. This is their 3rd road game in a row. That's why my play's on the Jets, and the coach being fired I think helps. But there's usually 3 or 4 of them a year, and you usually win most of them. You'll lose one now and then because that 3rd road game in a row is awful tough for a team to come up to get up for the game and let alone play good and cover the spread. Am I right, Jim?
Absolutely. What's the term that they use? Dead cat bounce? Is that when a coach gets fired and you change like that? So the team bounces back. And I heard the term. I think it was dead cat bounce. I'm not sure that that's right, but it sounded like that.
Next question out there in the audience. Anybody got a question for these guys? Anybody? No? All right, let's go here. Jim, I'm going to throw over to you. Early lines out there. What game stands out to you the most right now?
Well, I already bet Pittsburgh. I got them at 1 over the Jets. The Jets are playing tonight. Pittsburgh won yesterday against the Raiders. That doesn't really count very much because the Raiders are so bad. But I like Pittsburgh at home, coming off the loss against Denver or against Dallas 2 weeks ago. A little extra rest. Jets going to play tonight. Should be a tough game against. I mean, Buffalo's going to show up, and it's going to be a tough game, and they're going to travel up to Pittsburgh to play there. I like the spot. I think Pittsburgh will win that game.
For this week coming up?
Yeah, what game stands out to you right now with the early lines?
I like the Packers at home, -3 over Houston. The game means a lot more to the Packers the way the Vikings and Lions are playing. Houston's 5-1, so they're pretty good. They're on Front Street in that division. You got who's 0-5. 1-4. I mean, that division's very bad. So Houston can take a loss, even though they're going to be missing Collins again, the receiver. But Green Bay at home is a tough team. As long as Love plays like he did at the end of the year, now and then he gets a little funny with the passes and all. But I think at home, being the game means more in my mind than it does to Houston. I think that's a top play for me.
I bet a couple games this morning at the South Point when they opened, which I'm surprised they actually still have the games available. The one game, I bet Seattle +3 over Atlanta multiple times until they thought they were going to scream uncle, but they didn't. It's still 3. It's the only 3 out there. This +3 -15 in a couple spots. I just think I know Atlanta is their home, but I know Seattle has lost their last few games and not looking that well. I think it's a good spot for Seattle with the points there. I also bet the Eagles -3, -110 over the Giants, the old division rival there. I bet that a couple times at South Point, laying the 3 points. It's 3 -15 everywhere, but the 3 -110 is key. And it is key. The juice means a ton on these games. It adds up. So 5 cents doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're betting a good amount, it sure is a lot. And I bet a third game. I bet the Monday night game, a doubleheader game, Arizona +3 points over the Chargers. I did bet that a couple times at South Point. And the reason why I'm saying a couple times because they only take so much. So I hit it a couple times, and they finally moved it to 2.5. But there is a couple threes, dogs 20, MGM. I'll tell you one thing. If you don't have the BetMGM app, you really, because how can they be the slowest to move? It's the only +3 -15. Sometimes I'll find them really slow to move. I'm surprised they still take the bets, to be honest with you. So, like I said, they had the only 4.5 in the market last night. -05 was BetMGM. Of course, they beat me, but it was there. But yeah, so they're the 3 games I bet. Chargers almost blew that game yesterday. They really had a big lead. I don't know. They just sat back there. Of course, they did win it. But the Chargers over Arizona. I know Arizona's looked pretty bad. Well, they looked bad yesterday. They beat San Fran outright, of course, because San Fran didn't have a kicker. They've had their moments, though. Week 1, they only lost the 6 to the Bills. I thought they put up a lot of points on offense. So anyway, there's a couple games I bet for the week. You have to get the right lines, though. You don't want to just bet the bet. You have to get the 3. 3 is the keyest number in the NFL. Of course, it's not worth what it used to be worth years before the extra point and the analytics came in the game. Teams going for 2, but still, you have to get the 3. You can't take 2.5 ever, really. So
Got a question right here.
Yeah, I know 3's a key number. Yeah, that's why I do on 2-team money lines. You guys don't like it, but they say that 3's a key number, and it is, and 4's a key number. That's why I had 12 parlays yesterday, 2-team money lines in a row. Baltimore, Houston, Baltimore. It was just easy money, but you can't get beat up. But I heard all your picks for this week, and I just got a quick question. I didn't hear one that I love the most, an absolute. I know you're not supposed to say this, lock, but it's a number you might not like, but I love it. At home, fully healthy. The Los Angeles Rams at home giving a 4.5 to the absolute disarray. I mean, I don't see them. I see double digits here. I see the Rams dismantling the Raiders at home on the line. I don't see. Number one, why you guys didn't mention
Well,
this. Number two, why this line is so low.
Hold on, repeat the pick. Repeat that pick. What are you talking about?
Ray, you like the Rams, correct? Well, so do I. But the question I have, and you said fully healthy. I wasn't aware that they were fully healthy. I mean, they still don't have Cup. I mean, is he back? And I mean, they have not been healthy all year. You get a tremendous advantage at quarterback. You got a huge advantage at the head coach position. I totally agree with you, but I don't know. Are they fully healthy? I'm not aware of that.
it could be questionable still, Cooper Kupp. Yeah. He is the part of their offense. This is a big part of their offense. So, yeah.
No, I don't believe so. I mean, I may be mistaken.
I got a bookmaker for you. I'm just kidding. No, but they're 5.5. Circus holding steady at 5. You know, I'm not a favorite bettor in the NFL. I really can't. I can't bring myself to bet anything more than 3 points in the NFL. But yet I did have a 6.5 point favorite yesterday. I did, very rare. I got lucky there, and no one really should have lost that Washington game though. There was you can take 7 on that game in a couple spots. You can lay 6.5. A lot of the sharp guys were on. By the way, it was one of my rare winners for the day. Yesterday wasn't any good. I had coming off a 7-week in a row winner. Yesterday was not the best day, but I can't bring myself to probably laying that kind of juice, that many points with the Rams in that game. But I'll be rooting for you, Ray.
Go ahead. Ray, it's either the Rams or nothing in that game. You can't bet the Raiders. So, but without they need Cup. I think Puka is out for a little longer. But if Cup's there, the line jumped. It opened at 3. I think somewhere. Not then it's 5.5. So the money's on them. And you know McVay will outcoach this guy anytime. But,
and Stafford is way better.
Yeah, and
than
Stafford.
It's definitely a mismatch there, but I gotta have a wide receiver that Stafford can go to, and right now he doesn't have. Unless Kupp's playing, and I don't know that he is.
Other questions? Good question. Yes, right here. Yes, you.
Well, I do like Washington. There's nothing to say negative about the Washington offense. The problem is they're becoming very popular. Now you're starting to see bigger numbers. And it's not that they don't really have to deteriorate at all. But if the public and the money starts to go on them and the price gets too high, it's like a racehorse. You're going to put, weight on the racehorse. You put enough weight on him, he's going to slow down. It's the same thing with them. So I think they might be, you start putting numbers on it like that, and then you got to think about backdoor covers because their defense is not going to stop anybody. Okay.
And what Jim's saying is you're going to pay a tax if you're going to. This team's already out there. Everyone knows about it. They've seen them on prime time, and you're going to pay a tax on this team. The pre-flop number, which that means that the look-ahead number on this game was like 5.5. Actually, a 5. I have a 5 on this game, and now it's, like I said, 8.5 at stations. Boy, I can't lay that. And even though I know Carolina's terrible, you're going to pay a tax because this team is. Everyone knows about it. To go back to your Cup thing, Ray, you're probably right. They're saying he should be ready to return, Cooper Kupp. He's working out today, So week 7, they said he should be done by should be in there by week 7. So that makes it a total different team, like you and like Jim said. So he may be in there according to what I'm reading just now.
Anybody else? Other questions? Jim, let me go here.
Okay.
What game you absolutely stay away from? You just don't like.
Well, I'm not a favorite bettor. I don't bet very many favorites. I mean, occasionally I will, but I mean everybody bets some favorites. I'm more of a dog player, which is like yesterday was not a great day because I play dogs and dogs didn't do very well. Okay, so and that's probably going to even out a little bit because a lot of these teams that are, I mean, you got to look at the season. They don't play a preseason. They don't really get in shape. Now you've gone through 6 weeks, and these teams, this is like their preseason. I mean, Belichick said this years ago. You got to look at down the road, 5-6 games into the season before these guys are starting to get into shape. The unfortunate part about that is a lot of guys get hurt along the way, but then they reach game 6, game 7, and you start to see who they are. And now your whole perception has to change because the public is now saying, oh, the dogs win, the dogs win, the dogs win all the time. Well, guess what? The lines are going to start coming down. You're going to start to see more value on the favorites because they have not been winning. So Bill said it perfectly. There's a tax. There's a tax that you pay by what you believe in. So if, for example, we didn't talk about the Monday night game between the Ravens and the Buccaneers. I like the Buccaneers. They won the division 3 straight years. They're playing well. They can put up points. They're well coached. The Ravens are a dynamite offensive team, but their defense is nothing to shake a stick at. You can score on these guys.
You know, you bring up a point there. I think Baker Mayfield's grown up.
He's a whole up.
Now I think he's changed from I'm in the NFL, look at me, to now I want it.
Oh yeah, he used to do all the commercials with the insurance up in Cleveland. He was a cocky kid coming out of college, #1 draft choice. Always had the talent. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but I'm gonna tell you, he's tough. Mm-hmm. He don't want to come out of the game. He is tough. I like him a lot, and he has grown up. He's been around a while. This guy's nobody to mess around with. Well-coached team playing at home down in Florida. The Ravens, you know, they're good. I love them. They're great, but I don't see them winning this game, honestly.
Mike?
I agree with Jim here with Baker. But, Jim, if you look over the years, the guys that were doing commercials, Baker, Rogers with State Farm, a lot of those guys did all those ads, and then they either go bad or they're not in the league anymore, you know. But I agree with Tampa, but, you know, they got 2 of the best receivers in the league, too, so you got to look at that.
That's right.
You know, so, yeah, that's a play I would –
One side note on doing commercials. You don't get injured doing commercials. That's where they're smart enough to take the money.
Well, one thing you didn't see Brady doing until he ended the career. Then you see him, right?
He also had a wife that made $300 million a year.
So, yeah,
that helped.
But still, these guys, Rodgers, they all want to go to 40 or whatever they want to play till they think they're him, but they didn't take care of themselves up to now like he did. So, you know, good luck with all that.
You talk about an old guy that still can play. I don't know how old he is, but Flacco, this guy's a good corner. He's still good. I mean, he's much better upgrade over Richardson. So, I mean, I was pissed yesterday because I had to play against Richardson, against the guys that the Colts said were out. You turn on the TV and they're all there. You know, so I'm like, who am I betting against here? I mean, totally false information. I hated that.
Going back to what you said on that game, you know, that's one of the biggest line moves of the week. I know it's early. It's only Monday. But these lines come out Sunday night. People don't know that. A lot of the public doesn't know that. The lines actually come out Sunday, a week before the games. This line came out at 5, Baltimore -5. Quickly went down to 4.5, 4, now down to 3.5. And the lines, for most people that don't realize it too, the line is not made in Las Vegas. People think, oh, the Vegas line, you know, media doesn't know. They all hear the Vegas line. That's not the way it works. The line is made in Costa Rica. Chris puts up the line first. They put up a 5 on this game. It's Costa Rican International Sports. They put up the line. Then it gets a chance to get ironed out a little bit. Then the Las Vegas books will copy the line. That's right, they copy the line off of usually Chris. Now, Circus opens up some things first. South Point opened up college basketball first. You know, there's certain times they'll open up things first. But, you know, I love Circa, love Derek, love the guys over there. They're a little bit safe, though. They played a little bit safer, closer to the vest. I want them to open up preseason football first. They opened it up last, so you know there's certain things they're very safe on. So, but yeah, the lines open up first in Costa Rica, and the books then copy it. Believe it or not, DraftKings, even though they don't take a lot of money, boy, they shock me sometimes. They open up some lines first on certain markets. You know, they do take bets on the at the counter from me. Thank God, because I'm not allowed to bet on the app like most people. Also FanDuel too. FanDuel opens up some stuff, and they have no presence here. I think FanDuel's one of the sharper sportsbook lines. The guys that are there, believe it or not, more than the other books that I've mentioned. So, yeah, I just wanted to say though that the line opened up 5. One of the biggest moves of the week was Tampa Bay. So, to your credit there.
I got one.
Go ahead, Ray.
I got a good question for you here. So for the past 5 years, I've been hitting this one futures prop every year. And it started a couple years ago when I went away and I couldn't get to the phone a lot. I know we've all been there, right? And so
You mean you can't get to your own phone?
yeah, I couldn't get to my own phone. Something happened, you know. But so it's always week 10. It's always Caesars, and I've been hitting it for 5 years, and it got a little scary 2 years ago. I'll explain it to you real quick. It's always plus 325. Last year it was plus 325 week 10. Kansas City, Philadelphia, or Buffalo wins the Super Bowl. Plus 325, or the field minus 105. The year before that, it was Kansas City, Philly, and someone else. But it got scary. Cincinnati started creeping up. But anyway, I booked it, you know, a large amount, plus 325. I had to bet a large amount come around playoff time, first round, because Cincinnati started to get cute, and they were 8-1, so I had to waste a lot of money. Throw it at Cincinnati in case they knocked out Baltimore that year. But anyway, I've been doing pretty good 5 years going on this bet. The bet's about to come out in 3 weeks. Do you guys see a dark horse that I could probably put something on for the Super Bowl winner? Now, mind you, I am going to do the plus 325. If it started today, it would probably be Kansas City, San Francisco, and I don't know, whoever that would be.
So you're saying like the top 3 teams in the league?
It's going to be 2 AFC and 1 NFC probably, like it was in the past 5 years. Plus 325. They're going to put that out.
Oh.
So, do you see anybody that won't be in that 3 that you might see?
There's never been a that I remember. Now, this year is full of parity. I mean, every given week, someone else is the best team in football. Now we think Kansas City is, but that can easily change around next week if they lose the game. So it just seems like every week, next week, put it this way. They say Kansas City is the best team in football, yet they're an underdog next week. So, granted, only 1 point underdog, but they're underdog to a San Fran team that just lost versus Arizona. So every given Sunday, anything can and will happen. These teams this year, more than any year, I feel a little bit unsafe making that type of wager. And you're saying what's a third team to throw in there?
Well, I'm going to grab in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
See you guys again, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It'll be plus 325. It'll probably be Kansas City. It'll probably be San Francisco. And I'm imagining it'll probably be someone.
How about Detroit?
Detroit, right? So let's just say it is those 3. Would you put those 3 right now?
I don't make those kind of bets. I'm not a futures bettor, but I would say right now, off of especially after what they did to Dallas in Dallas, you're going to see them up there unless they get destroyed by Minnesota.
I just don't want to get cute, grab someone now, and they're going to be grouped in.
It's not a play that I ever make or recommend to anybody.
Thanks for the question.
Yes, right here in front.
Hutchinson's lineman. He's out for the year. He broke his leg. It's a bad loss.
Great player.
It'd be interesting to see what move they make.
Yeah.
Because they almost have to make a move, right, Jim? Don't you think?
I mean, they got unless they have somebody on that roster that they feel can fit in there. I mean, this isn't somebody you could really replace.
Right now, you could say, right? As we speak right now, the major line move on the screen is Minnesota.
Really?
Minnesota is moving, creeping up to 2.5.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah, Minnesota is getting the money right now.
So, right, what you said earlier, Bill, it's about 1.5 points.
Yeah, Circa's -2.5 on that game, and it's in black right now. It's pretty much a major line move, all solid twos
Right.
across the board.
It's a big loss.
Yeah.
If I was the Lions, I would call the Raiders and say, what do you want for Crosby? And I'd make a deal. Because if they want to replace him, that's where to go. Because the Raiders aren't going anywhere. And he's a winner.
Yeah.
And he plays hard.
We talked about this, and the Raiders need offense, and Detroit's got a bunch that they could give them.
Wow, what a move that would be. Imagine that. These Raider fans really would go after the team then, getting rid of Crosby. Wow.
What would the spread be if Crosby was out against the Rams?
Well, they're so bad anyway. I don't know that it would matter, because they're not a good team. But you're talking about a Super Bowl contender versus a bottom 4 team in the league. Very different.
The Raiders have made so many mistakes. What's the difference if they get rid of Crosby? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Chris, you got a question right in front.
What about Garrett from the Browns to the Lions? He was
Ooh.
rumored to be on the trade block just because the Browns stink. What happens at that?
I mean, you don't expect the Browns to be in the Super Bowl this year?
A bowl, but not Super.
He gets hurt a little bit, Garrett. I don't think he'd be the right guy. He gets hurt a little bit. Crosby plays no matter what.
Anything else out there somebody's thinking about right now?
Well, Tua is supposed to come back this week, I think, but nothing's for sure. The Colts, I don't trust the Colts. Their injury list that they give out during the week is bogus. They say these guys aren't playing. Richardson's going to be quarterback, and they come out to turn the television and they're all playing. I can't trust them. I'm not going to bet them until I can see them on the field because I don't trust them.
Mike's he's got something for you for that
Miami
game.
Colts, that's a game to watch with 3D glasses and put it on mute.
Agreed.
Anything else? Any other questions people are thinking? No. All right, Jim, let's go here. When we talked about the beginning of the season, you said, and you brought it up earlier, without the preseason, it takes these teams 4, 5, 6 weeks to get going. But then you talked about injuries. So are we at the point now where we know what each team is about, or is there still a team out there that can still get a little bit better that's just not clicking
yes.
yet? And who is that?
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of teams that could get better. It depends on who gets hurt. Like, for example, Minnesota just got better because Detroit got hurt. So it's the opposite. This team got hurt, that increases their value. So it goes both ways. You're not going to add very many players to your team to improve your team. They're hard to find unless you make some monstrous trade. But you can have your opponent get hurt and then
help you.
But
I think right now we know who's good and who's bad. I don't think there's no secret
at this moment.
This point
but remember, we've only played, 7 games? 6. It's a 17-game season. There's 10 more games to go. There's a lot more people who are going to get hurt along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And now, when you talk about Kansas City, they're going for a 3-peat. They're 1.5-point dog this week at San Francisco. You got to remember something. Mike and I did a Super Bowl show here last year, and we analyzed it. And one of the things we talked about was how good the coaching is on Kansas City. That hasn't changed. Spagnuolo is a tremendous defensive coordinator. Tremendous. Reed is a tremendous head coach. Mahomes is a tremendous quarterback. Their offensive line is very adequate or better than adequate. Now, they've lost Rice. Over the years, they've lost some wide receivers, and they make it up somehow. But they're smart. They play smart football. Not everybody does that. When you look at San Francisco, during the regular season, they do very, very well. But they have a tendency to lose control of the game in the fourth quarter. I don't know why, but maybe it's because of the scripting that their head coach does. But that head coach has been in the Super Bowl 3 times. Once as an offensive coordinator and twice as a head coach. He had the lead against New England 28-3 at halftime as a head offensive coordinator, and they blew it and lost the game. They had the lead twice in the fourth quarter against Kansas City. They blew it and lost the game. There's something about them that coaching staff, him alone, I don't know, but there's something about them that they can't hold on to a lead. That bothers me. That was one of the things that Mike and I talked about when we both picked Kansas City last year to win the Super Bowl, and we were both right.
Talking about that game, Jim, the Chiefs, we're not going to see another undefeated team. I don't think so, but anything can happen. But the Niners, you're right about Shanahan. He can't win a big game, but they need this game way more than the Chiefs need it. Am I right? I mean, the Chiefs will take that division. They're not going to get contested. Maybe the Chargers get a little close. But I think the line's telling you they want you to look at the Chiefs as a dog for some reason. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So
you also have the revenge factor of losing the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's a
Correct.
natural fit.
Correct. Another thing with the injuries, if the Rams didn't have the injuries they have, they could win that. They would win that division, I think, this year.
They could definitely make a
But
run at
with
it.
those receivers out and different problems, and they lost, Aaron Donald and all. But I mean, just saying, the injuries is the main thing. But yeah, Shanahan during the season, it's like Peyton Manning. He was great during the season. Playoffs 11-11 or whatever, something like that. Brady had his number. So, the season part is good because we're all betting those games. But you want, to be a champion, you got to win in January and February. That's when you got to win.
Absolutely. Look at Dallas. I mean, I think it's 3 straight years they're 12-5. They can't win a playoff game. There's some teams that are soft when the pressure's on.
They're softer than medicated cotton.
I hadn't heard that, but I like it.
We talk about the Chiefs and how good they are and how they should win the AFC West, but yet I don't think any of the pros on this stage would ever lay the 15-1 to win the AFC because anything can happen. So, I know they're a great team and probably the best team in football right now. Next week, you're right. San Fran needs that game more than Kansas City needs that game. So I think some of the money will come, and I think you probably should wait there. The game opened up at 1, and sure enough, it's still 1. Even 1.5, I'm looking at the Chris line offshore, which I respect. I would wait there if you're going to bet San Fran. See if you can get a pick 'em by game time. But again, San Fran to win the West. Kansas City to win the West, laying 15-1. I ain't laying 15-1 on nothing in the NFL. So.
Absolutely not. Hey, we don't talk much about baseball, but I'm just going to bring this up. The Dodgers, the last 3 games, 8-0, 2-0, and 9-0. Yep. What the hell is going on?
Yeah,
they haven't given up a run in 3 games.
No, and in that streak of 33 innings, they've thrown a perfect game in there. In those innings, there's a perfect game in there. They broke a record, I think, back in 1933 from Baltimore last night. They're deep. They're a different breed.
And today, I think they're going with a bullpen lineup, which is what they did against the Padres in Game 4, and they 8 pitchers and they won 8-0.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they sweep the Mets. They're just deep.
Huh?
And since we came on air, the line was 138 at Chris when we went on air. It's the only major line move on Don Best right now. You can see all the red and black up to 150 now.
No kidding.
Today's game. So Jim must have gotten an alert on his phone and he's given. No, but again, another team. This is the playoffs. The Mets have been they're not the 69 Mets, but they've been the amazing Mets here.
Yeah.
I probably can't lay it on today's game, but I would understand how they have been doing so well. The public will be all over this team. And sure enough, as I see here, up to 155 and 160
You're going to make
now.
me take the other side now.
No,
with that kind of price.
It would be the only price to take, I think. I can't lay it. But I'm
I'm
not betting it.
I didn't bet it, but at that price, I got to start looking at the other side.
Hold on, back to the NFL. You want to go Cowboys? You and Jerry?
Yeah, Jerry. What was his comment earlier?
Well, it was
this
his
year?
birthday present yesterday.
Well, he should get a lot of presents. His present, when he said earlier in the season, we're all in. Where are you all in when you don't make any moves over the offseason? Where are you all in? He's such a toxic person for that team. You know what I mean? He don't help the cause. When you should pay players, he holds out, and then you got to pay through the nose at the end. And to me, he's made a lot of mistakes, but it's his team. So they're going to sink or swim with him, Jim, and mostly sink.
I guess he has he does own it, and it's the most valuable franchise. You can't knock the wealth that he's built, but running the team, no way.
Mets are going to win today, Jim, so watch yourself.
Hey, well, I just said
Thought you
I'm
were a
going to go.
Yankees
I'm going
guy.
to go bet the Mets.
Thought
That
you were a
line's
Yan-
too
I thought
high.
you were a Yankees guy.
I am. That's a different story.
There's value. I think there's positive value in
You
taking
could take
the Mets.
$1.44 here in town right now on the Mets. So on the game, I'm not saying it's a bet. I'm just saying it's the best. And I love baseball too, Jim. I grew up with baseball and boxing growing up back east. That was my two sports. I love playoff baseball, so I'm looking forward to watch that more than the Monday night football game.
Well,
Any other questions?
yeah, there's a lot of bad Monday night football. This will be a good game.
Yeah. Actually, there's 2 games on today. Both games are on. No, today
No,
is
Cleveland.
Yankees, Guardians, and
Yankees,
Mets and
Cleveland.
Dodgers. Both are on. Yeah, but football just the one. 2 next week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they bet both dogs. You watch 2 good games, and maybe you split. You make profit. You get lucky, you sweep them.
Let me ask you this, Jim. You like any of the totals, the early totals for next week?
Well, I'm a maniac for totals. I had 8 totals yesterday, and I didn't do as well on the side, but I won 6 of the totals. So
okay. Might be telling yourself something.
it's always been that way, and there's no contest except totals. So it's not my game in the contest, but the totals work. I have not looked at the totals in depth. It's still too early.
You don't like totals. I
I'm
know.
not a totals guy. We bet 100 games last year. I bet 1 total. This year I've already bet 1, and it was a winner. I like I said in the beginning with the Raiders, a lot of their games would go under, but they're giving up so many points now. You got to forget about that. But when you see a low number, 41, 40 in that area, I think you got to bet the under. Sometimes you got to sweat it out in the fourth quarter, but I think that's the play. The numbers tell you everything, whether it's the total or the point spread. You just got to be able to read into them. If you can, you're going to win. If you can't, then you're not going to win.
Bill, you a totals guy?
I bet a lot of totals. Not as many as Jim, but I do bet 2 to 4 totals a week. And believe it or not, I bet a lot of overs now. Where 30 years ago, where I started out for a decade straight, I don't think I bet a single over. But you can bet overs today. Trust me, as we could see in the league every week. I am with one of my guys. I think is one of the best totals guys in the world, and we bet over. Actually, we won 3 out of 4 yesterday in the overs. So you can bet over. I bet some unders too, but I'm more of an overs player. Some of these big totals barely went over yesterday. I went over 51 on one of the games. I think it was in Atlanta.
The Baltimore game went
Yeah.
over that.
Yeah. But it's again, it's the NFL though. I'll bet 10 times more on a prop game, on a prop, than I will a total. When it comes to NFL prop, over/under yards on a player, over/under receptions, over/under touchdowns, I'll bet 10 to 20 times more than I'll bet on any one of these sides. That's for sure. I'm looking to bet props more than anything. Total second and sides third.
You a props guy?
I've never really acquired the talent to be good at it for some reason. I'm a totals player first, a side player second, and a prop player third, and it's only because I don't have a great record of props.
The proof's in the pudding. Right now, you can go down to Circa with the biggest box of money you have, and you could dump it out on the counter, and you could say you want to bet the Jets or Buffalo, and they're going to take the money. They'll take $1 million. I go down there and dump out any money I want to bet on an NFL prop. They'll say I can give you a dime, maybe 2,000.
That tells you a lot.
That tells you a lot. Yeah. That tells you that's an efficient line. That's an efficient line that's been ironed out for 8 days. And every single network covers the NFL, and they literally have that line ironed out where if you're betting the day of the game on an NFL game, I hate to say this, you're probably a losing bettor. If you're betting the day of the game, I have a show that I do, a nationwide show on over 500 networks with NFL player Jeff Schwartz and Brian Noe every week. We have the end of the show, we have a crack challenge, it's called. My last name's Krackenberg. I don't think drugs. So the crack challenge every week, 5 games against the spread, and they're my buddies now. Guy played in the NFL 9 years. He said, I win in the NFL. So you win in the NFL. You got 5 games at 5-1 East Coast time, 5-10 our time. And it's called the Crack Challenge. And it's so hard to beat NFL sides the day of the game. Monday morning, it's a softer market. That's the day that lines get shaped and formed. It's the day I usually bet NFL is on Mondays. Betting the day of the game, boy, I'll tell you what. You can bet some totals, first half totals, and, of course, props. Beating sides, I don't hardly know anyone that can beat sides the day of the game.
There is one thing I would say about that, and I agree with you. If you're going to handicap your games, then the lines are going to be more in your favor on a Monday. However, there is one angle, and there's some people that are very good at it. It's contrarian bettors. Somebody that's going to take a number and blow it up in their direction because they think they're good at this, you just bet against them because now you're on the side of the bookmaker.
You mean after the move, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
At the end of the week.
And I'm not saying you can't win at the day of the game. Like I said yesterday, we live in a town where if you have every app, if I have Stations and Coast and MGM, if I have the apps for all these things that allowed winners, because most of them throw out winners, if I was able to bet into those apps, getting those extra half a points on key numbers, oh my God. I think that's where I think you could win there. So going contrarian to what I'm saying, I think you could win because they overmove the lines. They're forced to overmove lines on the key numbers, 3, 7, 10. I'll even say last night was 4 to 4.5. So that's why I bit. But going to what you're saying on Monday morning or Sunday night, that line's being moved around. And you're saying by the time it gets moved around, it moves 2-3 points sometimes. The contrarian better will get the money, and by the way, you through a key number, you're probably both sides of the line is right. Probably both bets is right. -1.5, +3.5. They're both probably the right lines.
Bill, if you bet a game at 1.5 early in the week, I don't want to be taking 2.5 at the end of this week. But a square player, where the public gets on a team, this team's red hot. They're red hot. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Now you're looking at 1.5, 2 points at the end of the week in your favor over what the odds maker played. It's not a sharp. You're not going against the sharps, but you have to know what you're doing.
I gotcha.
You want to be the contrarian better against the public.
Against the public.
Not the sharps.
Sure.
You don't want to do that.
Yep.
But you really have to know what you're doing because you have to know who's making these moves.
Right.
So.
Yep. All right, hold on. You got something you're working out here. This is some system here.
This is for my eyes only, and you since you're next to me, Bill.
Bill, that's his app because he doesn't have those.
No need for apps. But Bill, like Bill said, if you're waiting till Sunday to make a bet, you must have just got off the bus downtown because you're not gonna. That's not a way to go. You got to start Saturday night, or even as soon as you can see. You're into week 6. You should know what's going on next week already. You know what I mean, Jim?
Well, of course, but we do this for a living. This is what we do. But there's a lot of people actually have real jobs, and they don't do this, and they don't have the knowledge or the background to do it. So what are they going to do? At the end of the week, I'm going to suggest to them, if you're not following somebody that's really good and getting down early, you want to be the contrarian better and figure out that line. The odds maker made it 3, and now it's 5. Well, I don't want to be laying 5. I'd rather take the 5. But as long as it wasn't a Billy Walters that made the damn bet.
No, you said it. You said as long as it's not one of the sharp syndicate plays.
Right.
You're absolutely right. And, you just don't know who's putting out this information, too. You don't know if they're hearing it on a network. But every network now is, let's face it, sports betting and gambling is fashionable. Everyone's talking about it now on every single network. I had an old-fashioned Italian mom and an old-fashioned Hungarian Jewish father. They always said to me, Billy, be careful. Don't talk about sports betting. If they only knew what was going on now. Every single network, they're talking about sports betting. Every single network. So you have to know who's putting it out there and who maybe even the public in volume is listening. Because sometimes those little $100, $200, $500, they add up to so much money by a public figure saying something. You never know. And there's gambling stations out there. And some of the gambling networks, I'll be the first to say it, they have people on these networks sometimes that put out stuff, but they don't even bet their own money. We see not only the gambling networks, I'm talking about the big ones that are on the computer here, these social media sites. Boy, I'll tell you what, You could. There's graveyards filled with people's bankrolls because of some of these people. So there, and I'm not even trying to be. I'm just being serious. There's some people out here that are on social media that act like they win. They don't even bet. You know what I love? There's guys that go on shows that work 50 hours a week. They work their 50-hour 9 to 5, and I'm not saying no one shouldn't do that. God bless them. I've done it a lot of my life. No one's had more blue-collar jobs till they were 25 than me, by the way. So I know what it's like to work like that, but I'll tell you one thing. I'm not going to work 50 hours a week doing something and come on a gambling network and act like I'm a pro and I'm supposed to follow you. I need to follow someone or listen to someone that dedicates their time full-time to sports betting. They have to be available when there's an injury, weather reports, line moves. So I know I'm going off on tangents. Again, it's the Jewish-Italian thing. Sorry.
Well, when they legalized sports betting, it changed a lot because when kids came out of college, journalism majors, et cetera, they would never think about going into the sports betting, handicapping business because it was kind of a gray area on the other side of the tracks. You don't want to be known for doing that. And that's where you and I grew up into this business. But when they legalized it, they said, oh, I like sports. My dad likes sports. I followed sports all my life. Now I'm going to graduate from college, and I can get a good job with ESPN or DraftKings or somebody else, and they'll pay me $250,000 to put my pretty face on television and talk about somebody telling me what I'm going to say because it's scripted. They're not doing the work. Somebody in the behind the scenes is scripting this. They're getting on there telling you who to bet, whether it's a prop bet, a side bet, a total bet, whatever it is. Now it's become legitimate to be out there, and they're good to look at, but they're not good to follow. Absolutely. Okay? It's a whole different world now. Nobody ever offered me $250,000 to stand in front of a camera and tell people. I had to do that work because we were behind closed doors. We were the dark side. You bet on sports, you're a bad guy. Now, that's not the case anymore. They legalized it.
You're right about all that, Jim. Listen, if the person isn't putting down money on a game, don't even talk to me. Don't even talk to me. I don't want to hear it. That's the only way.
Exactly.
We all know those people, and a lot of people here know me. I don't listen to anybody. So,
Albert, go ahead. So the question is, if the line is 3 and it's not going to move and you can't get anything, do you take it or do you buy the point?
I say no more because the sports books know the value of 3. They're charging too much. They're charging too much now. You know, when I first started betting on, 30 years ago professionally, you can buy on or off for 10 cents off of 3. Matter of fact, Fridays, we had some sports books on Fridays back in the day. They were called Aces Gold Sports Market, Game Day, all these sports books that came out 25 years ago. On Friday, they didn't even charge you for the 3. They charge you no juice. If the line's 2.5, take the 3 plus 110, minus 110. So now it's been talked about so much. The sports books now know the value of 3, and they're going to actually outprice it too much, just like teasers. You can't bet a teaser in this town of Las Vegas and tell me you're a winning teaser bettor if you only have Las Vegas to bet teasers in. Minus 130, minus 140. There's a place in town. I love the guys there. They charge $1.40 on a 6-point teaser.
Wow.
Just use a mask and a gun. I used to charge. I used to play teasers, 6-point teasers, even, no juice at a dozen shops. Now they charge $1.40.
Oh
That's
God.
Unbelievable. So I think the value of the 3s it's not as good as it used to be because of the analytics. Teams going for 2 and the 10 the extra yards on the extra point. But even so, the sports books charge way too much. The local books. Now you could have an offshore guy or something. You'd make a deal with them, only charge 10 cents. But as far as the books here, they charge an extra 20, 25, 30 cents. The kids don't know any better. They're all brand new to sports betting. Oh, I can bet sports now. I watched that on TV when I was a kid. Now it's fashionable. Every commercial is DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, Caesars. So automatically they'll lay anything. They don't know, so they'll lay anything. You know, it's funny when sports betting first came to this country. People don't know this. FanDuel was the first sports book that was represented in the country at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Do you know they charged $1.17 the first weekend they opened up on the NFL both ways? Whoa. So $1.17. Then it went to $1.15, and then me and a bunch of other guys went crazy on Twitter and the internet saying, "Why would you ever play with these guys minus $1.15 when your local guy in the pool hall and the bar and all over North Jersey charge you $1.10?" So it is what it is. Now they're still doing $1.10. Now they're back to $1.10. But however, the money lines, you can't bet a money line with one of these sports books because they charge you so much. You still have to deal with the old fashioned. There is 10-cent lines here in this town and stuff. And again, just going off on tangents. Just be careful paying too much juice because this town and this industry has played off all these young guys and new people to the industry and just said, "Oh, they're going to lay it anyway." So my answer is no. The buying on and off for free is not even worth it anymore.
Jim,
so instead of laying $1.10, now you lay minus $1.30. That would be the high. What's that? Oh, so just 10 cents more? Yeah, if you got a low, but you're not doing that in this. You're not doing that in the United States. You may do it with a local guy offshore. One of the PPH sites. Yeah, that's definitely worth it. Definitely.
Bill, let me ask you a question on Albert's question. If you like a team, they're -3, say -120. Would you favor playing the money line on the favorite as opposed to doing all that?
Only because someone like myself, I have, a dozen places on the screen to play. I literally have money up in all the sports books, so I have a lot of lines to shop from. Usually when you find a game like that's -3, -20, you might even look to a Circa because Circa has pretty good money lines. But there's many shops that have you can just look. Let's look at tonight's game. Let's just look at tonight's game. So money line on Buffalo, you have from $1.18 at Circa, just as I said, Pinnacle's $1.15. So you have from a minus $1.15 to this town laying $1.25. So $1.15 doesn't sound like a lot, 10 cents, but if you're betting $1,000, it's another $100. And you may look towards the money line on a game like that instead of laying, especially the 3 points. But even with analytics now, it depends on how low the total is. The lower the total, believe it or not, I think that the lower the total is, the better like a teaser would be. If you bet a teaser because you're getting value, but not so many points.
But you just said the teasers are too expensive.
They're too expensive. However, like even I even though I go after DraftKings a little bit, they still have $1.20 6-point teasers. I was just in Jersey the other day. They still have $1.20. If you're playing with local guys, I know some guys that have $1.10 teasers still. So the lower the total, the more I'll look towards a teaser.
When we talk about teasers, if you're favored by 3 and you want to play a teaser, you don't want to cross 0.
Yeah.
You're giving up a point. So
Never.
That's the wrong direction.
I never cross 0.
No, you never do that.
Never.
So we should explain that. If you're playing teasers, you don't take a minus. You don't cross 0 because you're giving one of the points away
for nothing.
That you're for nothing. It's like pissing in the air.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, since you're saying that, I don't bet teasers in any sport except for NFL sides. I'm never betting a college football teaser. Never, ever. Never betting an NBA teaser. Never betting a teaser on totals. Even though there's a guy I know that likes to tease totals. No way. There's no way you could tell me you're teasing totals. You're a winning bettor. No way. The only thing I like to bet is what's now is being called the Wong teasers. By the way, they're losing this year.
Oh, they're terrible because the long teasers, not the long and the Wong, but you take a 7 down to 1. They're all losing.
Yeah.
Except for this week. I don't think they did lost this week.
Yeah.
Right.
My favorite type of teaser is to take a home team plus 2.5 through the key numbers of 3 and 7. Take them up to 8.5.
Perfect.
If you could find 2 of them together, 2 home teams, I like doing that.
That's why the Jets are so popular in the night.
They were 2. They were even 2.5.
Exactly.
That's right. The Jets were a popular home team with a low total. Exactly right.
Now, Tom is asking me to set a final thought for the night, and I want to thank everybody for showing up here today. I know it's Columbus Day, but appreciate it. I hope. I want to thank Albert for putting this all together. And
round of applause for Albert, everybody.
Absolutely. And Tom for your direction and help here, all the mechanical stuff, which scares me. But the idea of this show is not to just give out winners, because we're going to win and lose. I had a losing day yesterday. There's nobody that picks more NFL side winners than the guy two to my right. Mike is absolutely the best at it. And I've seen him do it for like a dozen years, so I know he's good. But we all have losing days. I mean, you can give a guy 7 out of 8 and he'll say you're a jerk. Why'd you pick that one loser? I mean, you know, you can't make everybody happy. They don't understand the real odds of this business. And I've been doing it for 60 years. I know that makes me old, but I actually am old. So my point is this. The idea of this show is to educate people. We can make you think properly on your own how to stay out of trouble. And of course, that goes, we haven't talked about money management, but never bet the house money, guys. I mean, stay within your means. But educate people to think properly about what this hell this is. The bookmakers are not there to pay your rent. They're there to take your money. And you really have to think about what you're doing and how much you're betting. We pick more winners than losers. There aren't many people that do that. So by being here and talking about this is the education of what we can teach you about what we've known for decades and decades and decades, and occasionally give you some winners. I think we've all given out like 3 or 4 plays that we like this week that we actually have put our money on. We're not a journalist that's being paid by some national TV. Our money is on the line for all of these games. I know both of those guys both bet, and both of them win. So that's kind of my closing statement.
Jim Feist, Pro Football Handicapping Show, will be here every Monday, noon to 1. Next week, joining Jim on the pan will be Scott Spritzer and Paul Bovey. So make your plans to be here. Let's give it up for Bill Krackenberger. Go to Crack Wins. Mike Scallion on the panel. Give it up for these two guys, everybody. And our host, Jim Feist. Give it up for Jim. We'll see everybody next Monday at noon. My name's Tommy Cannell. Everybody have a great week and good luck with your bets.
Are coming over tonight.